Welcome to the heart of Destiny 2. Over the last little while, I've been working to update my range spreadsheet. Okay, maybe it's been a long while. Anyway, we are finally back here with an in-depth video, and new weapons in depth are also on the way. Back to range. To my surprise, I found a lot had changed that Bungie didn't tell us about. While doing this, I managed to test SMGs before and after they changed with update 2.1.0 or Season of the Forge. So let's talk about what changed, starting with SMGs and how I feel about things now. Before we start though, we need to make sure everyone understands a term I will be using. VPP, or value per point. This is the measure I use for effectiveness of the range stat. Value per point of 0.5 would give 0.5 meters of range for every point of range increased. Submachine Guns. Submachine gun base range or hipfire increased. The minimum range increased by about 0.8 meters and the maximum range increased by about 2 meters. Overall, not a large change. I honestly don't think this will be enough to allow these weapons to become competitive. They likely need a body damage increase to be able to compete well in the Crucible, especially once you see how sidearms have been changed. Sidearms. For Forsaken, these weapons got a total rework. Their base zoom factor reduced to 1.2x from 1.25x. Their value per point increased to 0.055 for hipfire and 0.066 ADS. It was originally 0.03 and 0.038. Their base range also increased. The minimum range was increased about 2 meters, and their maximum range was increased about 2.5 meters. If you were wondering why some people have been loving sidearms, this is definitely a significant part. I too have been having a great time with sidearms myself, as you may already know. If you have ricochet rounds and rangefinder, and a fair range stat on a last dance, you can be effective out to around 30 meters. The higher value per point also means that weapons with a high base range stat, like the Smuggler's Word, benefit significantly. Scout Rifles. These weapons were just simplified. In Destiny 2, Scout Rifles, Auto Rifles, and Pulse Rifles had different range attributes depending if they were kinetic or energy. As well, high impact frame could increase range. This means energy weapons actually just had better range compared to their kinetic counterparts. Now we are back to how it was in Destiny 1, with all weapons of a class having the same basic range attributes. Now Scout Rifles all have the same basic range attributes as the high impact frame Scouts had previously, which was quite good, meaning many Scout Rifles, like the Black Scorpion, got a small range improvement. Pulse Rifles. Pulse Rifles, like sidearms, were totally reworked. I suppose Bungie thought that Pulse Rifles were not affected enough by their range stat, because now they have made it able to adjust their max range. In case you didn't know, max range is typically not impacted by the range stat. Exceptions to this rule are hand cannons and sidearms. Unlike hand cannons though, which gain equal range for their min and maximum range per stat, pulse rifles gain a little less. Their value per point for minimum range is now 0.156 hipfire and 0.25 ADS. This matches what energy pulse rifles were, while kinetic pulse rifles were 0.135 and 0.216. Value per point for max range is 0.112 hipfire and 0.179 ADS. Keeping your range stat high on pulse rifles is now more important than it has ever been thanks to this. Of course, for the greatest increase to max range, look to increase sight or scope zoom. Although in Forsaken, that is now not always an option, as many weapons like the Bygones don't offer changeable sights. Auto Rifles. Finally, autos. These weapons saw the least change, but definitely good change. Like the other rifles, energy autos had a bit more range effectiveness, but now all the weapons are like how the energy type were. I don't have any numbers here. I imagine if you used Uriel's Gift in D2, you may have noticed it was just a little more effective than any of the kinetic options. Well, now all autos are how that Uriel's was. Hearing that analogy, you may be thinking, hey, that new Tiger Spite is not quite like Uriel's was. Which is quite valid. This is again due to the fact you can't choose your sight on the Tiger Spite. Sights have more impact on a weapon than you may think. For example, your Uriel's Flash HS5 sight likely gave 0.5x zoom, which would offer 50% more range. To finish up this video, I do and don't appreciate Bungie going and changing everything. They made it simpler, but I also had to redo a ton of work. Anyway, the key points here are sidearms are great, SMGs are slightly better, and go increase that pulse rifle's range stat like crazy. Don't go too crazy though, because stability is also important. Also, go check out my range calculator. It has the ability to produce range values for any primary weapon and produce charts for any two weapons you wish to compare. I even have damage per second values that you can use to better compare weapons. If you have issues using it, please message me and I'll help you out. Thanks for watching, do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.
I've spotted another Cabal mining expedition. Guardian, you know the drill.
We hang on long enough, this lander is ours.
Do as you see fit. I trust your methods.
Ship down. Hey, Devrim, guess what? The Cabal lost everything. And I mean everything.
Yet another devastating blow to their morale. Brilliant.